and for being at ArcticJS, because it's like super sweet to be in the Arctic right now. I woke up this morning and I didn't know I woke up because it was still dark outside, and that was pretty sweet. So thank you, like Watson, Faros, Macintosh for like originally organizing this, and everyone else for being here. This was originally a talk I gave at BrooklynJS a couple of months ago, and BrooklynJS has a really weird thing where they're in this room, which doesn't like go down. Like it has flat floors, which is the thing people do apparently. So you can't actually see anything from here down because this is just people's heads. So everything in this talk is at the top of the screen because I haven't changed it. And it'll be a lot better. That's why the format's kind of weird. I gave this talk at BrooklynJS and I felt really, really overwhelmed because it was my first tech talk I'd given. And the other speakers were the writer of Eloquent JavaScript and Brendan Eich. So that was kind of horrifying. But Brendan Eich was drinking during my talk, so it didn't really matter. But basically, this is Git YOLO, nothing to do with JavaScript at all. But this is what I use every day. So yeah, super cool. I want to talk about like why it's okay to force push. So let's get on. So first, basically, I'm Richard. I maintain a few list repos, which are a thing that like started like past few years. Mostly like Sinter has this awesome list. So I maintain awesome conferences, which I should totally add this to. Awesome style guides. I maintain a like Sami and stuff. And basically the normal pattern for this is people do a PR to my list, and then I'm like, yeah, you forgot to put the comma in here, or it's not formatted correctly. And I have to do this over and over again. And it's surprising how many people who use GitHub don't know how to change pull requests. So all of you here know how to do this. And like, this isn't really to you, but it's more to you as in like, as maintainers, constantly remember that not everyone is like Git savvy. So that's basically what's going on. And I want to ask you guys how you feel about this right here. This is one of my favorite things to do, and I do this all the time. 2 thumbs up from Jeremy, which is awesome. When I wrote this talk, I thought everyone would scream at me because I got screamed at for years, being like, never ever force push. I remember there was one day I used to work for a social media company in New York, and it was like me as a front-end guy, and then this Hungarian guy who used to work on Joomla. And he was Gergu, and he was really, really quiet, and like very unassuming, and just a very calm, present individual. And one day I force pushed a master and like took down dev or something, and I remember him coming up to me, and there was like so much anger in his eyes. I've never really recovered. And he's like, "You're never using Git again. You're going to use source tree from now on, and only like use a GUI because you're a cowboy." So that was really painful for me. So that's why like I thought this was unbad, but apparently everyone does it anyway. So maybe this is just a talk to a straw man. But I like straw men, so I guess that's cool. So this is a repeat thing. Don't worry about it. So I keep running this question: can you change your pull request? And people don't know how to do it. So there's an easy solution to change your pull request. You can tell people to do. It's really not that hard. You just put cats into a file, add the file, you commit, and then push origin. So this is what like most people are told to do when they say like, can you change a pull request? Just add another commit on top. This is what we learn, and it works really well. But I actually really don't like this solution, which is a bit controversial, right? The reason I don't like it is because this is actually worse history. So it all comes down to how do we think about commits. Do we think about commits as like sentences that we put on top of our code after we do code to describe the code changes? Or do we think of commit messages as stories we want to tell that we want the future to understand? So what this does is add a completely irrelevant commit message that just says, I messed up in one commit. But this wouldn't be relevant if it was merged into master. Does that make sense? I hope that kind of makes sense. And so really, telling people to do this is being incredibly lazy because it destroys history too. Commit messages aren't for the computer, they're for humans. Humans should be able to read them and understand what's going on, especially on really large repos with like tons of commits going on all the time. Having commit messages that are just like, hey, I fixed a thing, is kind of really annoying. So the way to fix that is to force push all the time, which is pretty obvious. Just realized I'm talking really fast. I'm going to be done with this talk in like 2 minutes. So that's cool. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So anyway, this is really cool. So use this. So what I did was that I use this so often that I'd set up this alias, which is get YOLO. So whenever I'm in a branch and I need to get YOLO, I just do this, which basically is in my git config, which just like does it all for me immediately. Never use this on master. But if you're on a PR branch and someone wants you to fix something, and you need to fix something, like seriously, that's a lot of typing, and it gets really old. So basically what I do is I just trust myself that I will never do this on master. And it works really well for everyone. And no one's sad.
Except that one time.
Except that one time, which hasn't happened yet. It will happen one day. I need to figure out how to do that. I guess I can make a bash RC function that just checks and makes sure I'm not on master or dev. Like any long-standing branches?
Yeah.
That's a smart idea.
I think GitHub even lets you disable force push on master, like at the repo level.
It does do that now, which is really cool. It didn't do that when I wrote this talk.
Huge pages.
Yeah, so do that. Use GitHub. Cool. So basically, instead of telling new beginners, like don't force push, just tell them you can force push whenever the fuck you want, as long as you're on a branch and you have good commit logs. And that's basically it. There's also other things you can do, like you can check out stuff and squash and rebase, and these are also really good. The whole point is to avoid this, which happens a lot of the times, which like I see people do, like, hey, can you update your branch? And they like close their PR and like open a whole new one, and it's just like, this actually happens, and it's really annoying. And don't like make people do that, because inevitably you'll end up with this, which is really annoying. Like, hey, can you change your PR? And then it just never come back. And this happens a lot too. Yeah, so you guys are really cool. Use the force and do it often, because like you shouldn't be afraid of your tools. It makes you a better coder, and we should trust each other. And thanks. That's like my entire talk. So. Yeah, that was the only talk for which I had slides. That was about tech. I was thinking about talking about the user's drunk, which is another project I had, or OS Protocol, which is a protocol I made so that you can like go to GitHub pages, or inyoman.com, which is a website I made for a taxi driver in Bali because like the guy needed one, and he was like, "Can you build me a website?" So I'm like, "Okay," and it took like 2 days. Cool thing was that I hid the button to call him, so you could call him, but I hid the button between his hours of normal sleep, so like it just doesn't show up. But I think it's kind of nice. Otherwise, it just goes direct to your phone. And because none of those were actually slides, this is basically all I had. That's a tie. Any questions?
Yeah, and 140 characters or less. Why is the user drunk?
The user's drunk because I was in Bali and it was a hackathon and I had nothing to do. So I built this site because I was reviewing a site for a friend while drunk.
Okay, I didn't understand that you were talking. That was the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was me.
You built the user's drunk website?
Yeah.
Where you review people's website and get drunk while you videotape it?
Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks. Yeah, that was.
I've seen that website.
A lot of people have seen that website.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I guess I can show you that website.
That is a cool website. If you guys haven't seen that, that's the best ever.
So, I was going to talk about this, but I didn't. So basically, I built this website.
With the beard.
Yeah, I built this website in a hackathon for like Hacker Paradise when I was in Bali. And basically, I was in Thailand and I was working for MIT, but I had the nights free and I was drinking a lot anyway. And so I just said, I'll review a website for you while I'm drunk. And I ended up doing something like 50 or 60 of them. And these are all like directly to the videos, by the way. So, like you can see.
Oh wow. Do they have to agree to make them public?
They do have to agree. So there's a lot of people who did not agree, and some people just never got back to me again. Especially Genius, because I sang through their review, and I'm sorry about that. I was really drunk. I mean, that's the whole point. But yeah, so I would just like review stuff. My favorite one by far was jeffreypicard.com, because Jeffrey Picard is a boss. So this was his site. Like, I just laughed for like 30 seconds. I just keep laughing. Anyway, yeah, so it was a lot of fun, and that's what I did about UX. I felt really bad about it, so I wrote a blog post recently that's a big retrospective about how I was the worst kind of tech bro possible, and how I was abusing my white male upper middle class privilege, which
Oh, come on.
I was really hard on myself, and at the same time, I had a shit ton of fun in Thailand. So that's life. Still working on it. I actually am reviewing, I just got an email this morning from an Ethiopian company that sent me some coffee and wants me to review their website. If you guys ever want to review, let me know. You guys can all get it for free. I was going to talk about this, but I didn't until just now. Any other questions? Neil?
So for force pushing, right?
Yep.
One thing that could happen is that right before you force push, someone else pushes an update to the repo or the branch,
Yes.
and then you don't know about that, and you just overwrite.
Exactly.
Right? So how do you avoid that first?
Generally, on list...
Repeat question.
Yeah. So, yes. So what happens if someone, on the branch where I force push, right before I force push, pushes a commit to that branch? Do I just overwrite that branch? And like, that's a really bad thing to do. And the answer is yes. I don't know. Generally, I should only use git yolo on branches where like, I'm sure that's never going to happen. And that's the kind of thing where it's kind of humans versus code. As a human, I should be able to make the call that, hey, this is okay to force push on. If it's a branch where I know other people are going to commit stuff, then I should never, ever force push. And like, I don't think that's such a huge thing to request of developers. The reason like I'm kind of like very emotional about this issue is because I was literally yelled at like many times. And that sucks. That's just like not a good way to teach people. And so I wish someone had just said, yeah, like just don't, be careful. Be careful, bro. Instead of like, don't do that ever, bro. Bro. Make sense? Cool.
The other thing is that if that does happen, if you use force push and rebase and things like that, it's good to also know how to use the ref log, because otherwise it's one of the few
Also
ways
true.
that you can actually like lose words, which Git normally is pretty good about preventing you from doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Use the ref log.
That's limited to 100, right?
I don't know.
Or something like that.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
I've like never gotten past 100, but I've thought about like, what if that commit went past the first 100? What would I do? I don't know.
That's horrifying. What if the commit went past the first 100? I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'm sooner than that.
That is a big feature branch then if you have 100 commits in it.
Yeah. And you should have squashed those earlier. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
So, and Git squash is awesome. Also, like, there's a lot of fruit metaphors in Git. Git squash, Git pick,
Yeah.
Git cherry pick. Yeah. Any other questions?
It's good.
No? Cool. Thanks, guys.